yourself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Morning, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith and Holly Blades. And it is a pre-recorded show as I'm having a week off. So welcome along, and we will look back at the last 7 days at Newcastle United. And first, Holly, obviously because of the show's been a little bit all over the shop, we didn't really have much of a chance to have a chat to you about the Wolves game last weekend. And it was a tight game against a team that was chasing a European position, still are, but Newcastle came out with the 3 points. It was hard earned.
Yeah, it definitely was. And I think the 3 points was a massive plus for us. Of course, we would have taken anything from that game. I think I was happy with the point. I know a lot of the fans were saying they'd be happy with the point, but then to get 3, it just really eased a lot of people, because I know we were starting to worry with the likes of Burnley picking up points, other teams in and around the bottom 3 starting to climb the league, and you're thinking if we keep losing games and we're not picking up the points, we're going to be dragged back into it, and that's not what you want to see after we went on that such a good run to get ourselves out of difficulty, and then just to get that 3 points, I think has made a nice gap now, and you'd imagine we only need 2 or 3 more points to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, they came to. It looked as if they came to play for the draw, didn't it, Holly? They weren't very adventurous for a team that was, is trying to get into Europe.
I was really shocked actually at how negative Wolves were, because obviously a lot of people talk about them. I think especially on the likes of Sky and stuff, they're playing them out to be this kind of really exciting European club, and people are saying maybe that's the model that Newcastle should build around, and I don't think so personally. Like, their league finishes have flattered them, I think. They have got a decent squad, but their style of football is very defensive, very negative, and I agree with you. I think they did come for a draw on that day and it didn't work out for them, but just so far back, it's unbelievable. And if it gets them into Europe, then fair play, but it certainly wouldn't be interesting football to watch as a Wolves fan.
No, definitely not. ASM, obviously we were talking a lot about him, in the build-up to the game, talks about him being potentially linked to moves away, but how did you think he performed?
For me, I think St. Maximin was probably quite disappointing in that game. I did praise him in the Spurs game previously, and I think he was the one that got picked out the most and kind of got the most criticism. But for me, I think in that game, he tried the hardest. In this game, again, it was just a lot of complaining when decisions weren't going his way, which annoys the life out of everyone. You think the time you spend complaining, you could be back up and back into the game, trying to have another chance at going on the attack, and he just doesn't do it. And it is frustrating. I think he excludes a lot of players out the game. He was very selfish again. Times when he should have passed the ball, he tried to go for a shot, and some of his shots were atrocious, straight into row Z. Didn't impress me at all, ASM. And it's a shame, because I think between now and the end of the season, he really does need to step up if he wants to prove that he's got a future here, because certainly in the past few games, I think consistently we've seen now he just hasn't been up to the standard that you'd expect.
No, definitely not. But you go from ASM to Bruno, though, and Bruno getting all the plaudits again.
Yeah, Bruno's my man of the match by a long mile. I think ever since he's come into the club, you can just see that he really is a class above most of the squad. He's got so much talent, it's unbelievable. We haven't, again, seen loads and loads of him yet. He's still quite a new player, still getting eased into the side, but he has had a few starts now, and he just keeps getting better and better. And I think, obviously, once he fully adjusts into the Premier League and the pace of the football that we play in England, I think he'll be even better. And next season, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he'll do, because I think he'll be probably up there with the Kieran Trippiers of this season. I think he'll be the player you look at when he made our season.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, people talk about potentially going for like a marquee signing in the summer, but I believe that we've probably pulled off 2 marquee signings in January, in Trippier and in Bruno.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I think you're right. Trippier has been phenomenal. Really good player. Obviously, going from winning Champions League to coming to Newcastle, I think that was a great signing to manage to pull off. And then Bruno as well. he's probably a player that you'd look to think that he'll be in that squad of players that we're challenging for trophies with. He seems like a player that's a few years too early, and to get him in now, especially when he signed we were in like the bottom three, I think that was incredible. So I can imagine we probably would go for another big name in the summer, but even if it's just another Dan Burns, someone like that, someone that is relatively unheard of but comes into the side and just really, really looks like they've been there for years and puts a shift in, then I'll be happy.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree. It's about the quality of the player, but it's not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. And Bruno just seems to have taken to Newcastle, doesn't he? And I loved the celebration as well, where he picked the youngster up and celebrated with him, and also his attitude when he was substituted. Holly, he didn't want to come off.
Yeah, it's been a while since I think we've seen that sort of attitude at Newcastle. There is one or two that really, really fight to stay on the pitch, but most of the time I think they're happy to come off. A lot of our players, they're just knackered. But Bruno, yeah, he just wants to impress people. I think he really thrives off the attention he gets off the fans. We see him a lot on social media, just seeing how much the support means and how when everyone chants Bruno, like he absolutely loves it. So I think if the fans get behind him, he'll just want to play better and better. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Bruno is just you support him and, he'll give as much as he can on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely great to look at. Obviously, there was concern over Ryan Fraser. He went down quite early, was substituted. Almiron came on. Subsequently, we've heard that the problem that Fraser's got isn't too bad. He's had a scan, and there is potential for him to start against Leicester, but maybe this game might be too soon for him. But good to hear that Ryan Fraser's season isn't over.
Yeah, of course. When I saw that Ryan Fraser obviously went down, I did get a little bit worried because I think he's probably been an unsung hero this season. He's been very, very good. When he first signed for the club, people were thinking, oh my God, he's brilliant for Scotland. And then at Newcastle, what on earth is he doing? But this season, I think he's just really, really stuck in. He's got a lot of pace about him. He's got a good attitude. He's just a grafter. He's another Matt Ritchie style player that he won't only try to improve his performance, but he'll try to improve the performances of other people around him. And I think without him this season, the league position would look a lot different.
No, certainly would. But one man's loss is another man's gain. And Almiron, when he came on, he didn't really let us down. He seems to have got a new lease of life. And a few months ago, there was talks of him being unsettled about his agent going to be flying in for talks. Do you think the scope for Almiron to still, continue in Newcastle next season?
I really hope so. I know a lot of people were saying that they'd be fine with him leaving, but I've thought that was quite sad because I think he came into the football club and he had a lot of promise. He did quite well, especially in his second season at the club, and then he did start to drop off a little bit. A lot of people say he's fast, he runs around, but what else does he offer? But I tell you what he does offer that other players in the squad don't, effort and a good attitude. And I think that makes all the difference. If someone was a poorer player, but they were showing a better attitude and putting in more effort, then I would rather start them. Personally, because I think they're more reliable. If there's a chance in a game to get back into it when it's 0-0 or something, the players that try will be more likely to get you a result when it comes down to it. And for me, Almiron, I think he's just never really complains. He's always quite happy, does always get stuck in. And look, he did cause problems for the defence of Wolves, not necessarily obviously being a goal threat massively, but just putting them off, getting the ball to other players. He does a lot rather than just scoring, and I think next season he could have a part to play, and I just hope he's given that chance.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens in the summer with Miggy. As I say, nobody could doubt his effort. Since he came to Newcastle, he's run himself into the ground. But maybe he's with a little bit more coaching. Maybe he's at the formations and the players that are brought in suit him better than maybe some further use of Miggy at St James's Park. It remains to be seen. Other news, of course, that came out of St James's Park over the last couple of days was that Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier are edging closer to full fitness. Great to hear, first of all, that Kieran Trippier is back on grass. He's training again. And it sounds as if a return to the first team might not be too far away for Kieran Trippier. How important is that going to be in the running?
Really important. I think you'd argue that we're probably safe now, if not mathematically safe, then it will only be a few points away, I think, before it is mathematically safe. But Trippier, like, he's made a massive impact in the season. His time was cut short because of that injury, and I think just to have those few games before the season ends will do a lot for him confidence-wise, and going into the new season, I think that'll put him in much better stead. Because if he hasn't been playing for quite a few months, it'll be more difficult. And if we are safe by then, that'll be a lot of pressure off his shoulders as well, because then he can afford to make a few more mistakes and stuff, which are more likely to happen when you come back from an injury. But I think it will be very, very important that Kieran Trippier comes back. I think for me, although, like we say, he had his time cut short, he's probably one of the players of the season, if not the players of the season, because I think even when he hasn't been on the pitch and actually in the side, in the dressing room, in the stands, I think you can tell that he's had a lot to say and made a big impact in that aspect too.
Yeah, definitely. And Callum Wilson, of course, I mean, I made the point to Mick Lowe's on Saturday. It actually feels as if, Callum Wilson hasn't played all season. He's been out that long. But the good news is that he's, he is back on the training ground. He's shooting practice, but he's still training away from the main squad, which suggests that, he may not be back maybe until the last couple of games. Do you think that's why he's just treating him with kid gloves, because he's been such an important, an important player for Newcastle when he has been able to pull on the shirt?
Yeah, you've got to be careful with injuries, because especially with a player like Callum Wilson, he gets injuries quite often, and rushing him back, if it then worsens the injury, it's only going to make him be out for longer. So it makes a lot of sense from the club just to be cautious. I think if he does get those last couple of games of the season under his belt, then again, that'll be brilliant, because he's probably the only natural goal scorer currently at the club. And I think that's certainly been something that we've missed, although we've managed to get the goals from various other players. You just want someone that you can put in front of goal and he's got a good chance of scoring, and we haven't had that ever since he's been injured. So going into the last couple of games, I'd just love to see Callum Wilson there, and you can just think, right, we've got a good chance of scoring here, because sometimes it doesn't feel like we do.
Looking at the opposition we've got this weekend today against Leicester, Mick Lowe's made the point on the show on Saturday that he felt that this was the kind of team we should aspire to be. Is that the same kind of feeling that you've got? That Leicester have done so well in recent years. They've won the league, they've won the FA Cup. Is that where you see Newcastle's next aim to be?
If I'm being honest, I don't really like the idea of comparing Newcastle to other football clubs. I don't think we should try to be like any football club. I think we should do our own thing, follow our own model, and granted, get our own success. But yeah, look, Leicester's been brilliant. They did obviously win the league in 2016-17, which wasn't that long ago. They've got a really, really good squad of players. They haven't just kind of bought success overnight. It's been something that's been built. They're a good team to watch, and they're quite stable financially as well. So it's not a bad side to look at. But for me, and I don't want to sound like deluded or anything here, I think that in due course, obviously not in the immediate future, that we can go on to be better than Leicester. And I don't think we should compare ourselves to any football club.
Fair point. No, fair point indeed. Jurgen Klopp this week has been making his mouth go again, Holly, saying that the fixture against Newcastle should possibly be moved, because they've got a big Champions League game to look at in and around that time. What's your views on that, Holly?
More complaining from Jurgen Klopp, same old faces, same kind of rubbish that they're spouting out. It's not really a surprise at this point, but I think certain managers feel like it's only their football club that gets impacted by fixture congestion and things like that. But if you look at it, every club's been affected. And while Newcastle might not have Champions League games, they've had points in the season where we've been playing 3 games a week and things like that. It just happens, and it'll happen to every club. And I guarantee you, when we're in the Champions League, we'll probably get some absolute nightmare fixtures, but it's just one of them things you've got to get on with. And teams like Liverpool have got a large squad. Their bench is probably better than most clubs' first teams, so they're in a really good position regardless. And I think that they know they can probably comfortably go on to beat Newcastle. So I don't get what he's complaining about again. I just think it's more victim narrative in front of the media.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't move the game when we had to travel to Arsenal, did they? When there was that storm.
Yeah, that was another nightmare game. And then again, you look at like which team was it? Was it Crystal Palace or something complaining about them being played on a on a Monday night or something, like or a weekday. But we played Southampton away on a weekday, and we weren't headlines in the newspaper. So again, it's just certain teams. Something happens that they don't like, and it's like an absolute outrage. But it happens to teams like Newcastle, and nothing's said.
Yeah, it is crazy. It just seems to be one rule for one and one rule for the other. And something which I hope will affect us in due course is Champions League games. But that's what we aspire to. But can you really believe once again that UEFA have attempted this like backdoor idea of a European Super League this week?
Not at all. You'd think after the last time and the response that it got, they would have just put that on the back burner and wouldn't have been spoken about again. But the fact that they went for it again is very interesting. And I think that if there wasn't as much outrage by the fans, it probably would have went ahead. And I feel like it's something that we've probably had an inkling of for quite a long time, because unfortunately, football has become very money orientated. The fans are usually the last priority, and if they can make a few extra quid, then they're not really bothered. It would ruin football totally, because you can't travel to like Barcelona every week or Real Madrid, PSG. It's just not realistic. So you're only going to have fans that are like tourist fans. The fans that go every week aren't going to get that chance to do that, because unless you're like a multi-millionaire, it's impossible to be traveling to those games that regularly. And the fact that they went for it again, I think one shows again that they don't value the fans' opinion, because a lot of fans complained, vast majority did, and they've just still went for it again. But also, just a lack of respect for, I suppose, for the likes of organisations like the Premier League, who have already said they're not happy with it. Obviously threatened sanctions, and then they're going to try and do that again. But I can't see it coming off. But would I be surprised if it does? Probably not. I think they'll try and get around it somehow, and it's just really, really sad that all they think about is profit now.
Yeah, money is the god, isn't it? I guess, of these football authorities, and it's, as you say, fans certainly don't come top of their agenda or their list anymore.
Yeah, and it's totally wrong as well, because for me, you look back to like the games that were played in lockdown, and they were so boring to watch on telly, or at least I thought they were, because without the fans, it's just really dead. It's like just a lifeless sport. I think it takes the whole excitement away from football. And I think if they start messing around with things like that, they will actually realise how much they miss the core fan base of a football club. But I think they'll only find out the hard way. Unfortunately, I don't think they're going to realise beforehand.
Yeah, if there was one thing that COVID taught us about football, it was that fans are an integral part of it. And if you treat fans with contempt, then it's bang out of order. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. I'm sure it will drag on and on. Newcastle, of course, are in the market for a new nutritionist, which was an interesting story that I picked up in the Chronicle over the weekend. And I think it comes off the back of Jurgen Klopp. Referred to his head of nutrition, a lady called Mona Nemma, as one of his most important signings. And Newcastle are in the market for a nutritionist. And does it surprise you, Holly, how important the nutrition side of things is these days?
I don't think so, because I think, again, it's probably a role at a football club where it just kind of goes unnoticed and unrecognised, because they're not in the forefront of it. They're not on the cameras, and people don't really see that side of it. But it is, of course, going to be just as important in some ways as the coaches, because although the coaches are doing a brilliant job at obviously teaching them new tactics, improving set pieces, things like that, if they're obviously being unhealthy outside of the 90 minutes they're playing football, and they're not following good diets, then that is going to have an impact on how they play, because if football players are unhealthy, then it's going to impact the performance. Of course it is. So people like nutritionists are, of course, going to be of big value. I just think, they're often go unrecognised at football clubs. But to see Newcastle making steps like that, again, just shows that they're looking at the wider picture.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's good to see nutrition being a part of it, and it does play an important part of it, 100%. So that should be something which we pay particular attention to, I guess, over the next few weeks. As for Newcastle's fixtures coming up over the next few weeks, we've got Newcastle United against Leicester and Crystal Palace. Of course, I'm missing both of those games, but it's two home games. And Eddie Howe once again lavished praise on the supporters. The war flags display last weekend was fantastic, Holly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Just looking around the stadium, and literally now the whole stadium's black and white. I think the East Stand looked brilliant. In fact, I dare say the East Stand could slowly overtake the Gallagher end. It looked that good. But yeah, it was just fantastic. And I think that atmosphere, like even about 15 minutes before kickoff, I can't imagine how it must feel for our players to walk out and just see that, because it looks incredible.
Yeah, and they've got big plans, but it doesn't help when people keep nicking the flags. Unfortunately, I think we just want to reiterate, don't we, on this show? Please do not take the flags home.
Yeah, I really don't understand why people want to do that, because it's fan funded as well. People are chipping in and donating money to try and get these flags to make the ground look good. And if you keep stealing the flags, there's going to be none left.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But hopefully people will get the message. And a lot of people putting it out there, and maybe just something over the tannoy, I think, as well, just to say, look, please do not take the flags home. I mean, I know we shouldn't have to do that, but you just get that impression that some people do need telling, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know if some fans, maybe ones that don't come often, are under the impression that you can just take them. I think some fans genuinely don't realise that they've got to stay there.
Sad news this week as well from the world of women's football, and that was that former Newcastle United goalkeeper Dominika Podzitiu passed away. Sad to hear that.
Yeah, really, really sad. Obviously, condolences to her friends and family. Just such a shock as well, with her being so young.
Yeah, tragic circumstances, and obviously from our perspective, we wish her family all the best in such a tragic time. As for the game coming up at the weekend, Newcastle obviously take on Leicester, and it's for me, you mentioned it earlier there, Holly. You said you feel as if we're almost safe. But I don't want to see Newcastle United with the flip-flops on. You want to see them put the same kind of effort and determination in that they have been over the last 10, 11 games.
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than just seeing Newcastle think, all right, job done. Well, we'll just move on, wait for the next season now, because they've done it before. They've done it many times before, in fact, and not just in terms of when we think we're safe in the season, but also sometimes we'll go 1-0 up and think, oh, game one, we'll just sit back, and 9 times out of 10 that leads to us conceding. So that type of attitude has been stuck with certain players for years and years, and I'm half expecting that to happen, by the way, after that kind of result against Wolves. And do I want to see that happen? No. I think Eddie Howe won't want to see that happen, because I think that's the type of attitude that he'll hate as well. But I think with certain players, he'll just be unable to get a tune out of them now till the end of the season. I don't want to doubt them, and I really hope that the prove us wrong, but they've done it so many times in the past that I just struggle to believe they'll go all in, and especially against opposition like Leicester, because I don't know about other people, but I'm not expecting anything from Leicester. And there's other games coming up in the season, Liverpool, Man City, where most people will be just expecting us to get beat. And I think in those games, you would expect certain players to just sit back and go, oh well, we're not going to get anything out of this game. But even if we don't, I'd just like to see us try.
Yeah, I mean, I would just want to see the effort put in from start to finish. That's what you want. You want to see Newcastle, coming out and giving it a real go, especially in the next 2 home games, because from our perspective, we want to get as many points as possible, and just enjoy the rest of the season. And that's the whole point. Of course, Newcastle play Leicester City at home, 2:15 kickoff live on Sky Sports. And as I mentioned on the show with Mick Lowes, we haven't got a very good home record in recent games against Leicester City. In fact, since 2014, Leicester have racked up 5 successive Premier League wins on Tyneside, and the aggregate score has been 13-3 in their favour. During that time as well, Magpies have won 3 of their 5 visits to the King Power Stadium, so it does balance itself out in a little shape or form. Holly will be interviewing Super Mac at the Dog and Parrot pre-match. Are you nervous, Holly?
Not really, Steve. I'm looking forward to working with Malcolm, though.
Good stuff. So Holly will be with Supermac at 12 o'clock pre-match, and then 4:30 after the game. It is free admission. Kids are welcome, and there is good food and good beer at the Boozer. So get yourself down there. The referee for the game is Jared Gillette, and on VAR, which is often switched off, is Lee Mason. The team news that we had going into the game was that Jose Perez could be considered. He was on the bench for the European fixture, not one of Holly's favourite players, it has to be said. Wilfred Ndidi is missing due to injury. Jamie Vardy is also unlikely to feature. As for Newcastle, well, Joe Willock is over his illness. We knew that Trippier and Callum Wilson weren't going to return. And Ryan Fraser's injury wasn't as bad as we first thought. So we'll be interested to see what kind of team Eddie Howe puts out today. So, yeah, give us your views on the match and give us a prediction, Holly.
Leicester have a brilliant team, and I don't think we should underestimate ourselves because we have done well. Prime example, the last game after Wolves, we did well. And I'd like to think that we will give it our all. I'm hoping it's not a high scoring game because I don't think we'll go on to get anything. But I'm going to go probably 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester. Oh, well, for me, I think Newcastle will get a draw. I think 1-1. I think Newcastle will turn up. I think they will give a good performance, but I don't think they've got enough in them to win. I'm going to go 1-1. That's going to be my prediction. Just want to ask you about Chris Wood. We haven't talked about it. We've talked about it many times. Oh, look at that face. But yeah, Chris Wood. I did say on the show, Holly, that Chris Wood would at some point get a crucial goal, a match-winning goal. That in itself would pay back a large chunk of that £25 million fee. Was I right?
We'll give you your moment. Yes, you were right, Steve. You can have your little "I told you so" moment.
Hey, fair play to him, though. I mean, it must have taken guts to get up and take that penalty, especially after having a goal chalked off for offside.
Oh, definitely. And I was just praying that he scored that penalty because I think if he missed that, his confidence would have been absolutely rock bottom. And I know so many people around me in the ground was just like, they couldn't even look when the penalty was being taken. I was struggling to look. It was just so nervous. But fair play to him for stepping up and taking that penalty because he didn't have to, but he made a point to go, no, look, I want to take it. And he scored it. He did it very well. And, that put us 1-0 up. So great from Chris Wood. And I hope he continues to do it again. And I think more than anything, the positivity that'll have on his confidence, it'll be vital because I think it has been hard for him. He's got off to a difficult start at Newcastle. You can tell at times it's starting to get to him a little bit. He seems quite agitated at times on the pitch because he isn't scoring. But to get penalties and get goals like that, I think it'll just really, really improve his performances.
Yeah, I would agree. Big shout out to our sponsors, Spider Miner, worldwide coverage from the lads, the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst using virtually no energy. And it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Thanks for your continued support, lads. Thanks to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and a Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.guhd.com. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Walls and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. Thanks also to ClearEye. Meet the new game over screen, drop into a ClearRun device near you from Apple Store, Google Play, and ClearRun.game. Thanks also to Media Arts. If you want to subscribe to the show, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to post a question when we are doing live shows. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and all other podcast providers. If you want to become a member, it's a £25 one-off fee. You get a scarf, a cup, a membership card, and a pen, and entry into our free monthly draw. you can go to the website nufcmatters.com or use your smartphone to go over the QR code, and that takes you straight to the membership registration page. We also give away some free car stickers. If you are a subscriber, simply contact John at nufcmatters.com. As I mentioned earlier, the Dog and Parrot is where you'll find Super Mac and Holly this coming Sunday and this coming Wednesday, pre-match and post-match on Sunday, and it'll only be pre-match on Wednesday. So get yourself along. It's free entry, kids welcome, good food, good beer. Get yourself along for a free talk-in. Please as well donate to the food bank. The guys will be outside the ground on match day on Sunday and Wednesday, but you can also make a virtual donation via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk 365 days of the year. Get yourself onto the website and make a donation if you can. A couple of other things to give a shout out to. NUFC Matters are holding an event at Shearer's Bar Friday the 24th of June, an evening with Mick Lowes and Andy Griffin. Tickets are £12 entry, £15 VIP, and available now from nufcmatters.com. Well worth popping along to that. Andy Griffin has got some great stories to tell. And don't forget as well, Newcastle United women's team face Barnsley on Sunday the 1st of May at St James's Park. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff, and we will be promoting that up until the day of the game. It's £3 a ticket for that, so well worth getting yourself along to give the women's team some support. Holly, I just want to draw attention to your podcast channel. Obviously, it's been up and running for a few weeks now, but you did a big show this week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my podcast went out last night with both Alan and Andrew from Chili Studios, which is a mental health charity based in the East End of Newcastle that basically help people struggling with mental health difficulties through the form of art, various types of art they do, like whether it be, traditional drawing and painting or music, they do loads and loads of different things. And I just thought that it was really important to try and push charities like that, because I know a lot of people living in the Tyneside area maybe struggling with mental health problems and they don't know things like Chili Studios exists. And as well, I thought it was important to hear from someone like Alan, who he now works for the charity, but he used to be a service user, and just try and say that although art might not seem like something that you'd be typically interested in, especially with men, it can seem, quite traditionally something that women would do. But just for him to hear his story, because he was like that, he went into it not caring less about art, had no interest, and then it really, really transformed his life, and now he's working for the charity. So I just thought it was so important to get those guys on, because I thought they had a brilliant story, and I think it's a great charity. And keep an eye out on their website as well, chilistudios.co.uk, because they've got a lot of stuff coming up. But definitely give that podcast a watch, because if you have got an interest in mental health, and I think it's something that impacts so many people, whether it be you directly or your friends, family, I think everyone will come across someone at some stage in their life that's struggling mentally. It's just a really interesting podcast, so please give that a watch.
And what's your channel? How can people find your channel on YouTube, Holly?
Yeah, so my channel is just under my name, just Holly Blades, so you can find it there. I've usually got links to it on my social media pages if you follow us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram, and I'm just trying to upload once a week, but I'm hoping that in due course that's going to be more regular. It's just kind of getting to grips with it and trying new things out, because it's way, way different doing your own podcast to actually just being a co-host on one.
Yeah, good stuff. Good luck with it. Please subscribe to Holly. I just forgot as well, we have got this wonderful shirt signed by Haaland, a Dortmund shirt, which was donated by Frode. It is at the top of my Twitter. It's pinned at the top of my Twitter. Please bid. The latest bid, I mean, it was only up 10 minutes and somebody had already bid £200. I think it's up to 250 when I last checked. But it is signed by Haaland. So it is a keeper, that shirt. All proceeds from that shirt are going to the food bank. Thank you to Frode for making the donation. Slightly shorter show today because it's match day and everybody will want to get off. But Holly, as always, great to speak to you. Look forward to seeing you again soon. And best of luck with the talk-ins. Take care.
Thank you.